I need to become a greatsword main, I think. The main design ideology of Wilds appears to take the beloved aspects and realism, weightiness, immersion from World, and slam it together with the fun, engaging, quality of life aspects of Rise. Regardless of which of those two games you preferred, I'm sure everyone is excited to see how Wilds is shaping up. The resurfacing urge to grind Monster Hunter has reignited within me this past week, as the team are in the process of blessing us with more and more gameplay showcases and information. Let's look a bit further into what we've seen and discuss what else may well be on the way. If you haven't already seen the showcase videos, don't worry, I will fill in the gaps. On Monday the 5th of August, the Monster Hunter Wilds Focus Mode overview video was dropped. Focus Mode is a new mechanic being introduced that on a fundamental level addresses an issue the games have had for years. A lot of players, well, primarily new players, feel that you fight the camera more than you fight the target monster. The reason behind this is that your attack direction doesn't necessarily align with the direction in which you're looking. Focus Mode fixes this inconvenience by allowing the player to more intelligently aim your attack and also to aim your guard. This is a real positive change that will hopefully make the gameplay feel more intuitive for new players. But that's not all Focus Mode introduces, however. One of my favourite mechanics that's been showcased is that by continuously attacking the same part of a monster, we will now create a wound. We sort of already have this in a sense with part breaks, but now there's more to it. Focus Mode will highlight these wounds as well as any other weak point the monster has exposed. Dealing damage to those areas will then do increased damage. Not to mention, we now also have Focus Strikes. These are big damage moves that can be used on weak points for even greater impact. It isn't specifically mentioned what limitations we have with these moves. It could be like Silkbind attacks in a sense, in which we have to wait for a certain resource to regenerate. Well, in the provided footage we can see that the highlighted weak point stops glowing red after it's been hit by the hunter's focus strike. This could mean that the weak point's no longer exploitable, and you'll return to doing default damage if you continue hitting that part. This would create a time window in which you'll want to hit that area as much as possible with regular attacks and time your big hitting focus strike to end the combo. Maybe these weak points only last a finite period of time and we'll need to learn the windows of opportunity we have in order to increase our optimal DPS. Let me know your interpretation of this mechanic in the comment section. Will focus strikes be tied to a resource? Will weak points be set on a timer? I would love to hear your thoughts. Alongside this video, we also got a basic mechanic overview. As you can imagine, this is likely aimed at an audience unfamiliar with the games. Most of us already know a lot of these features, so I'll recap the key and new points. The secret? Sacred? Well, this is the new Palamute. In a familiar fashion, we can ride this to quickly traverse the map. It will follow the monster's tracks and automatically head towards it, allowing the hunter to heal and sharpen your weapon in the meantime. This was already kind of teased, but we now also have confirmation that you can swap between a primary and a secondary weapon that's stored on your sacred. Depending on what you end up fighting, you may wish to change your approach mid-hunt. Naturally, some weapons are more effective than others against certain targets, so I can see this being useful. With that being said, I think most of us will likely stick with old habits and just use your primary main. I do also see potential issues with this feature adding additional stress for new players. Learning one weapon can be hard enough, but now they have two. Also, you'll have to go out of your way to farm up materials to ensure both weapons are now fully upgraded. We'll see how this plays out, but overall I think the change is very positive for the game. I'm particularly interested in how speedrunners are going to play around this. The Slinger also makes a return, however it now looks way more intuitive to use when engaging with the environment. Even after hundreds of hours, I still find it incredibly clunky shooting down pillars to land on monsters and things of that nature. Now we instead have a hook that appears to better attach to these interactable environment pieces. It can also be used to pick up items from afar, which is a nice quality of life touch. That covers the core gameplay information we receive. Well, other than the weapon overviews, which have been steadily dropping. Okay, so now I'm going to just completely talk off the dome. If anything I say doesn't make sense or feels a bit sort of incoherent, that's why. So there's a few extra things sort of hidden within these videos that I wanted to just address and I suppose start a conversation with you guys. So firstly, from some of the gameplay showcases, I'm sure everyone so far has noticed that each weapon now has new additional moves and combos. This isn't exactly a new thing for Monster Hunter games. There's always new features introduced with the weapons to slightly change playstyles and to keep things fresh. What I'm curious about is how exactly are these new moves introduced. Of course, in Rise we had sort of the Silkbind setup and different weapon arts and styles. The biggest factor there was of course being able to switch. You could swap between two different loadouts to change your playstyle during the hunt itself. I'm curious to see, with Wilds aligning more closely with Worlds, part of me feels that these new moves are just going to be incorporated as part of the weapon's movesets, and that's it. There won't be any loadouts, you won't be able to swap and change different playstyles depending. Of course there is argument, however, that we will have more of a Rise setup in that sense. We'll only be able to choose between sort of 2 or 3 maybe different moves. While I did like that system in Rise, I think I liked it because it was Rise. The fast-paced nature of the game I think lent itself well to a more active playstyle of switching between different skills. With World being more slow and deliberate, it really wouldn't shock me if these are just fundamental changes to each weapon. I might still go into a bit more detail on a couple of these, of course mainly the weapons I am most familiar with, such as longsword and dual blades, but let me know your favourite change for your main weapon. Another thing I wanted to quickly touch upon is the map. I don't know about you guys, but watching a lot of these gameplay showcases, I noticed that the area around the hunt seems to be very large in scale. It could just be that these specific locations chose for the videos happen to be more open areas. We can look to the Wildspire Waste, for example, in World. In that desert area towards the north, it does feel incredibly open, and if you were only shown that part of the map, you might lend yourself to believe it's open world. The same thing could be occurring here, but with the team now leaning more closely into having your mount, the Sacred, I hope I'm pronouncing that right by the way, then maybe the maps are just bigger. We now also have additional quality of life ways to traverse and almost stay within the map for longer. With the grappling hook and being able to sort of collect items as you go, being able to swap weapons, all these features lead me to believe that we're intended to stay within a map for a much longer period of time than in World, for example. Again, it might purely just be quality of life, but we've also only been shown this sort of one environment in the game. And with it being named Wilds, I can't help but feel that there's more to the map than we've been shown yet. Other than all this, of course, I just want to comment on how cool the armor sets and weapons shown so far look. The longsword particularly stood out in the armor set that the hunter's wearing there. It's just such an exciting time building up for this, and I'm really excited. I probably am going to jump into World and Rise leading up, more likely World, just as that's going to be a more similar transition. So yeah, let me know how you guys are going to prepare. As I'm recording this rant, I've seen that they've actually dropped the Charge Blade video, so I'll probably take a look at that. We can definitely expect more and more information to continue dropping. That's part of the reason why I'm going to wait, I think, to discuss the weapon showcases. I want to make sure sort of everything's out there before I keep putting out videos. After all, half of the things I've discussed today may be proven wrong. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, for now, let's put these sort of quick thoughts to rest, and we'll just patiently wait for more information to be revealed. I want to thank you all for watching today. There's certainly a lot to discuss in the comment section, so feel free to ask any questions or open up any discussions I may have missed. Thanks for watching.